Hi, this is Christine Fife with the Wine Pro Marketplace, and I am here with Moshe Weissman, who is the co-founder and president, I believe, of
Not yet,
Whining.
CEO.
CEO. Okay,
Wasn't promoted
those.
to president yet.
Whining. So that's whining, WINEING, .net, right? Whining.net.
Yes. Hmm.
And you have come up with something rather cool for wineries to be able to sell more wine than they are currently selling. And so please, I would love for you to tell me all about it.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Yes. So that's what we've done. And we've done it in a digital manner. The idea behind what we do sits with the documented statistic that somewhere between 80 to 85% of wine buyers are not case buyers. And since wineries usually offer cases either in special prices or discounts, they're not really aware that these offers are not relevant to 80 to 85% of the market. And that's why people end up after visits or after any e-commerce engagement buying one, two, three. The average is between 1 to 4 bottles, actually. What we do is we enable the wineries to basically offer the same case offerings or same case discounts, sometimes, actually most of the times, a lot of cases of the different wines at the same time. But our platform, instead of limiting the e-commerce transaction to one person who buys a case, our platform enables many people to buy the cases together. Kind of a mix and match platform, which is real time. So people, when they log on to it, they very quickly see that they're not alone. There's a progress bar, there's a maximum amount. And then basically what we eventually get to do is link the wineries that want to sell cases or case quantities to an audience that doesn't want to buy the cases. It sounds weird, but this digital game is something that actually makes it happen.
So let me make sure I'm understanding this right. I'm a winery and I sign up to use whining, and you're not bringing new context to me exactly, but I want to offer a discount on a case. Usually I offer discounts only to my club, maybe something like that, or to my contacts in my database. If I say I'm gonna sell maybe a few different wines, or maybe just one wine at a case discount. But I know that most people don't buy a case. So if I send out an email and I put it on my social media and I send it through text to all of my customers, I can say, join in on this deal. You don't have to buy a whole case to get it, but as soon as you're all buying together, so people are sharing it on social media, hey, I know you like this wine, you should jump in on this deal because you'll be collaboratively the people are collaboratively buying it. They're like, yeah, I
Correct.
want two, I want four, and as soon as the first case is reached, now everyone gets the deal. Is that right?
Correct. That's precisely it. The thing that we must understand is that we believe that wineries, at least the one we work with, don't necessarily need to try to convince themselves that they need new customers. There's still a way to make a higher turnover from your existing one. That way is to enable them to collaboratively buy what you already offer. And that's what we're solving.
Awesome. So if I know most of my customers, especially the non-wine club customers, they'll only buy one to four bottles at a time. With this, I can say, hey, everyone that knows my winery, go check this out, and you'll be able to see other people that are, joining, or other bottles that are being sold while you're saying, oh yeah, I want to jump in on that deal. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly correct. Wine is very special as a product. It's something that people like to buy together. They like to brag about it. They like to recommend wines they like. And people like to hear or feel that they're not opting for something that is not popular. And once you enable a digital tool that takes the gathering of the audience, the high intent of the audience to buy, and the good deal that you offer to that audience, once you take these three things and you enable them with a collaborative solution as opposed to an individual solution, the psychology of e-commerce will simply take over. People feel more comfortable, they engage with people, and as you said, they can also see something that they believe they're the only ones who got exposed to and share it with others, and therefore, in a non-direct way, bring new customers to the winery.
Okay, awesome. So that sounds cool. I can sell more wine to my current customers with this and potentially get them sharing, become my marketers, sharing with other people. So how does this work for me as a winery? How would I do this?
So basically, we're starting up. So in parallel to our day-to-day progress, we're already building integrations with the common software houses that wineries usually use, whether it's Commerce 7 or what was Wine Direct, Wine Hub, etc. Until we complete that, I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So pretty soon, while you're bringing this up, pretty soon,
Mhm.
if I'm using Commerce 7 or Bottle 360 or whichever one order port, you're going to make integrations with the common ones, and then you're going
Exactly.
to say, um, like it'll connect itself. But right now, I would have to go and sign up with you directly and
Yeah,
and enter my wines there too.
exactly. So tomorrow we will be a feature within these one-stop shop software houses. Right
Brilliant.
now, it's a standalone solution which isn't that bad because we do have compliance and fulfillment and charging mechanisms in the background, but the onboarding of the merchants, the sellers, is still done as if this was a standalone solution. So
Okay.
what you would do after contacting us is get a link. That link will guide you into what you're looking at right now. It's a digital onboarding where you first um, basically set up an account for yourself. It's pretty
Mhm.
straightforward and easy. And afterwards, you basically set up the deal or deals. That means the product that you want to offer, the minimum quantities that enable the discount, or the maximum quantities that you have in stock, any other product descriptions, and images,
The things I would
not great.
to tell about my wine and all those kind of fields.
Exactly. And
Okay.
once this has completed, I'm going to jump to another screen. You would basically get from us a few URLs, which are basically your dedicated, uh, ready to use e-commerce shop, and that those URLs are not live until you decide that the deal will be live, and they're not live as soon as the timeline that you've set is over. We're giving a few URLs so that we could track which promotion mean was the most effective. So you could have one as a QR code, which you could use at your tasting room. You could have a link to Instagram or social media, SMS, newsletter, whatever. At
Hmm.
the end, those URLs that you share all lead to an example that looks, this is an example of what it would look like. People would get into this whining sale, all of the text, all of the logos, don't
So
mind the text. It's, yes,
once I set it up in Whining and I say, okay, I'm ready to share my deal offering, I get a URL and it'll bring people, and I email that URL to my customers, put it on my social media, etc. And and they say, yeah, I want to get on that deal. They click the link and it brings them here.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. And this is like your standard e-commerce
Yeah.
store. This is from our development environment, so the numbers here are fractional. There's a clock at the top, all
Mhm.
right, which is, states the time you wanted the deal to be live. So if you're a winery and you have a bus stopping by for an hour visit and you want to offer them the ability to buy during 15 minutes after the visit, that's fine. If you're a winery that offers a future sale, this could last for 2 months. We're totally indifferent to that. So
Wonderful.
what you're looking at right now is a use case of someone. It could be a retailer, it could be a winery, because these are different wines. Let's say it's a retailer, okay? Because there are six types of wines here. And
Mhm.
what you see here is all of the information about the wine. And because this is an example of a European case, that's why it's 6 bottles. But if it was an American use case, you would have 12 empty bottles here. And
Right.
those 12 represent the minimum quantity for which the retailer was ready to offer the discount for. So this is an example of a live deal. So what actually is happening here is where you see colored bottles, it means that people already pledged for them and are participating. If I would like to participate, it's very simple. I click join on each wine, kind of a mix and match kind of thing. And once I complete my pledges, I complete a checkout process, which includes personal details and payment details, although there's no charging yet. The charging occurs only at the end of the sale. I won't go through all of the details, but this is also where you select the shipping that the winery is able to do, to where, what terms, what are the costs. When I've completed my pledge, there's a notification mechanism that confirms this via SMS and via email. What you would supposedly see is that the bottles in the deals that I pledged for are getting colored, and people very quickly understand that they're not alone and there's something brewing. They're part of something which has a common goal, a limited amount of time, and they're dependent on the others to reach the minimum number and get the discount. And going back to what we said earlier, there's also a very simplistic feature, but it's one of our most heavily used, and that's the share button. So people who are at the winery, they know they have 15 or 20 minutes left, but they love this wine, but they know that their mother-in-law or their sister or their friend also would love the wine, but they're not here. You can very easily share it with them and make them, engaged with you in the deal. And that's it. I mean, when these sales happen in a physical use case, example, at a winery or at a festival or whatever, the interaction between the people is amazing. People start talking to each other. They've kind of becoming friends because they're like part of the same adventure, part of the same game. Kind of resembles a stock exchange kind of feel to it. So everybody wants to jump in on the top stocks. And
So,
once the
oh, go
yeah,
ahead. No, please go ahead.
and the last thing I wanted to say is that we have the merchant can use a feature called the merchant's choice. That means that we did have occasions where not all of the deals proposed, in this case you see 6, but not all of them reached their targets. The merchant, right before the end of the deal, a time that he decides on, can decide whether to accept only the deals that reach their minimum goal, or, and we have a separate dashboard for that, if he sees that the total potential turnover of both the deals that reached their targets and the one they didn't is still interesting enough for him, so he can choose to accept also the deals that didn't reach their
It
target,
didn't
and
reach it.
then everybody's happy.
Awesome. Okay, so let me make sure I've got this right. So I'm a winery and I decide, I've got, say, two different wines that I have cases that I want to move. So I'm going to offer a 10, 15% discount. So I go to whining, I enter my wines and all the details of the discount, the details of the wine, how long I want the sale to go on for. And
Shipping.
yeah, okay. So I enter all that and then I say, okay, I'm ready to share this. So then I go create an email to all of my customers. I create a social media post. I maybe have a little QR code in the tasting room for people visiting. So I go and email, share it all everywhere to my customers. Those customers then say, I want 15% off of this wine, but I don't want to buy a whole case. I click the link, I go here, I say, okay, I can see other people buying it. I definitely want to make sure this deal goes through so I can get a bottle or two. So I'm going to add that to my cart and I'm going to go through the checkout process and the sale ends or it's about to end. As the winery, I can say, well, I'm not willing to sell off this wine that didn't make the deal. But I wanted, the ones that did make the deal, great. I have some new customers. Are not new customers per se, but new sales.
Correct.
And it's more than I would have gotten if I just emailed people saying there's a case discount, because not that many people buy that.
Correct. That's
Okay.
absolutely correct. Yes.
And
And
of course, I have the option to say, well, I sold, 11 bottles of this one wine. That's close enough. We'll let that deal go through for those people.
correct. Two things. One is, I mean, we keep saying case, but if the winery chooses to, it could be 18 bottles, it could be two cases, it could be three cases. I mean, the minimum target for the
Okay.
discount. Case is something that, is more appealing because it's the usual suspect of a good deal. Um, the second thing is that the platform is smart, and let's say you, Chris, were the one that pledged for this loan Pinot Gris,
Mhm.
and it doesn't really seem like it's moving. The platform will know to approach you and say, "Hey, Chris, we noticed you pledged for this bottle. It doesn't look like it's going to move anywhere. Would you like to juggle your pledge?" Exactly like with stocks. And then you could decide to move that pledge to another bottle. And on the other hand, let's take this Sauvignon Blanc. Let's say there was one bottle missing in order for this deal to take place and not two, as you can see here. The platform will also know to somehow randomly approach the Chris's and the other people who may have pledged for other bottles, but not this bottle, and tell you something like, "Hey, Chris, we saw you pledge for these bottles. We're missing one bottle on this deal. Do you want to join in, help the community, and possibly get some kind of a either discount on your next purchase or get a perk for it?" And that's another example of how the engagement and the communal aspect of it takes action.
Cool. I think this is really interesting. And so for a winery who has just, listened to all of this, how can they learn more? Get maybe a more in-depth demo, find out more about it? Where do they go for
Reach
that?
out, well, reach out to me on the Grapevine platform. Reach out to whining.net. PM me on LinkedIn. But whining.net is the best option. That's where most of our leads come into. And we're very prompt in answering people back. We're just onboarding our first Sonoma wineries, so happy to try this out with any interested party.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for coming up with a new way to sell a little more wine.
My pleasure, Chris.
Bye bye.